Hello and welcome. I'm James Rice from Mohawk Valley Community College, and today I'm joined by John Sands from Moraine Valley to talk about his upcoming topic, the Workforce Study, Community College, Cybersecurity Alumni. Where are they now? John, welcome. How are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Good. So I saw that the study was actually already published, and so we'll be able to link that for everyone's kind of review ahead of time. And as I was skimming through it, I wondered if you might just kind of give us a brief overview of what was this all about? What were you thinking? What were you looking to accomplish? A little bit of the background, kind of go from there.
All right. So yeah, the workforce study really involved us taking a look at community colleges and our graduates as aligned to the NICE framework. So, as most of you know, the NICE framework came out, several years ago, and schools are using it more and more in the development of their programs and assessment of their workforce and so on. So we thought it was really important for us to get a, sort of a snapshot of, okay, how do community colleges align to the workforce according to the NICE framework? So basically what the study involved was taking a series of community colleges. So we took 12 community colleges from across the nation, and they were large schools, small schools, schools from the East Coast, West Coast, South, so on. So we got a good mix of schools from across the country. The one thing that all of these schools had in common was that they all have run a cybersecurity program for at least 5 years. And all of them were also centers of academic excellence. So those were the two criteria we sort of looked for when we were selecting the schools that were going to participate in the study. And basically what we were looking at is, what do the graduates do now that they're in the workforce, and how do their jobs align to the NICE framework? So that was the gist of the study.
Yeah, and I guess both in my academic career as well as kind of being more on the military DoD contractor side of things, I've seen a variety of angles kind of coming at the NICE framework to say, how do you make it meaningful, and how do you understand, okay, which pieces apply to me and which pieces don't necessarily apply to me? So that certainly sounds like quite the task to be able to tackle, the framework and its size, but also it sounds like a great strategy that you were able to take a variety of colleges, get a variety of students, and sort of see how it goes. So kind of given the magnitude of the scope, let's say, were you able to take those multiple students and kind of track them over a period of time to sort of see how they did?
Yeah, so most of the students have been in the workforce for at least 5 years. So that gave us a really good picture, not of just, what was their current position, but also what was the pathway that they took to get there. So what happened when they left school, when they graduated? And then we also looked at things like, what type of credentials did they leave with? It was a snapshot in time, but we also were able to look sort of chronologically at students and say, okay, when you first left, what was your position? And then, you gained experience, and, you went on and potentially filled a different position, and where are you now? So, it included both. It was a snapshot at that time, but it also looked at their pathway to that position.
Great. Yeah, I'm thinking of the times too where we've tried to track students locally, and it's always kind of haphazard. They're great stories to hear, but then it kind of becomes, okay, that I'd say the biggest feedback I always get is like, wow, I should have paid attention a little bit more in this class because I have to do that now. And it's,
Yes.
So that's great to hear. But it doesn't necessarily help me as an educator to say, okay, what should I do differently, or how can I take their feedback and now do something with it? So kind of given the data and the journey it sounds like you guys have gone through here, the study over the past few years, what do you think some of the next steps are? What do you think the strategy is to kind of move forward given where you are now?
Well, I think this data is going to be really valuable in a couple different aspects. So the first aspect, I think it's going to change the perspective of perception of what community college students are capable of. So what types of positions will they go into? Because I know going into this study, probably the wide perception is that community colleges really were only in one of two categories: to protect and defend and operate and maintain. But what we found was totally different, that we found students really across all seven. So we actually had students in all 7 different categories. So that tells us something, but it also tells us we need to do work now. So we need to find out, have organizations that are hiring these specific types of positions, have they considered community college students? Because I can tell you, as an example, for let's say a security analyst. Most schools or federal agencies, to hire a security analyst, they're only going to take someone with a baccalaureate degree or higher, and usually a BS degree or a computer science degree. Well, what this study tells you is that students that have left our program with an applied science degree, they may not have been hired as a security analyst, but look at 5 years down the road, now they're analysts, and 10 years down the road, they're senior analysts. Now, I mean, I want to be truthful. Some of them have gone back and received additional education, and of course, all the on-the-job training and experience that they've gained and so on. But I think that people need to rethink what the requirements are when they bring in students for or candidates for specific types of positions. And I think we can share this data to validate maybe changing some of the requirements. I mean, and like a second application I know very specifically is we're part of the Scholarship for Service program in the community college sector, which means we have students that are taking federal scholarships, pays all their tuition, they get paid to go to school, and then they have to go and work for a federal agency. Well, the very end has been the difficult part, is getting jobs with those federal agencies, because they have very difficult and stringent hiring requirements. In a lot of cases, they'll only take someone with a BS, let's say, right? Or they have to have a 4-year degree. Well, we want to change those feelings. We want them to understand that there are other options, and maybe they ought to broaden what those requirements are for some of those jobs.
Yeah, it almost sounds like, there's kind of some consideration on both ends, given this research, in the sense that, we always have that little bit of stigma with the community college that it seems like we never stop working at. We're always trying to emphasize stuff like that. But also on our side, when you kind of make the mention that, there might be a little bit of misconception, let's say on the faculty side, that we think some of our students might only be ending up in certain areas of the NIST framework, where clearly your data is showing, no, we need to consider that they could really end up anywhere. So just kind of
other aspects of the study showed us also that it's not just the academic credentials, that their internship experiences, the types of extracurricular activity they get involved in, and just things that students pick up on their own in their industry certifications really played a role in the types of positions that they were able to land. So, we're a big believer in that quality programs really need to offer students a variety of different extracurricular activities. And I think this study supports that really does help a program build a much higher quality and provide better services to their students.
Yeah, and I'm thinking specifically of a handful of students who it's like, I don't just need to hear this, they need to hear this as well. Mm-hmm. Because so many times the students are inspired when they hear stories of other students, like, show me the pathway, show me the proof that what I'm doing and the direction I'm taking is going to work out, and I'll go for it. And so any more of those success stories, I think, are always great. And so that's some really interesting stuff, I think, that would be useful to pass along to them as well.
Yeah, then one other aspect of the study I think would be important to share with the audience, and that is this was a really great opportunity for us to work in a larger community like the CAE community. And what I mean by that is that when we did this study, we knew it was going to be man-hour intensive. It was going to take a lot of time to call these students, collect the data, and so on. And we don't always have the staff to do that. So Corinne Sandy and the Insight Center funded us so that we could go out and actually hire PhD candidates. So we worked with one of the CAEs, North Dakota State University, and their students in one of their PhD classes, and in fact it was a research class, actually used this as a project. So they actually made the calls for us. They did all the narrative inquiry. They did all the data acquisition and shared the results with us. So it was a way for us as a community college to work with a state university and a PhD program, and together addressing a need, a way of looking a little deeper into what the workforce needs are and what community colleges, what role they play in developing the future workforce. So that was sort of an interesting aspect of it, and and I would encourage other community colleges, when you put in for grants or you're pursuing to do different types of research, think about working with partner schools and even tapping schools that have PhD programs and leveraging their students and doing some of the research.
Yeah, being creative to make ends meet is always something we're looking to do, it seems. So, well, John, thanks for the quick overview here. And I'm sure that anyone who wants to talk to you more about the report could just reach out to you directly. And obviously, we look forward to hearing more at the summit in fall about this.
All right, thank you.